3,000 years, the Aborigines roamed Australia. They acquired an intimate knowledge of their environment and its natural species. They developed extraordinary hunting and food-gathering skills and were able to survive even in the most hostile and arid terrain. With the coming of the European, this delicately balanced lifestyle changed dramatically. Recently, the last tribal groups have given up their nomadic existence and moved to large permanent communities. To learn about the skills needed to survive in Australia's harsh interior, I set out to make contact with the desert tribes, and this film is a record of my remarkable adventure. My traveling companion, Kim Allen, has accompanied me on previous expeditions. And there's my dog, Jowdy. With the vast distances and the remoteness of the area that we intend to visit, we load up with 500 litres of fuel before the last leg of our journey into Western Australia. These people, the Kukadja, have all left the desert in the last 30 years, and the families now live together on the edge of their traditional territory. The Kukadja are still very tribally orientated and take some time to accept strangers. I had been invited by the tribal council to visit their community and on our arrival, talk with the elders. With their assistance and cooperation, we intend to journey south into the sand dune country. The councillors will decide who will accompany us. The inquisitive children are the first to befriend us, and we're soon driving groups of them out to their favourite food-gathering areas. The grevillea flowers, a special treat, ooze a honey-like nectar. Old Wadurda, a man who not long ago came in from the desert, becomes our firm friend and spends more and more time in our company. Like the youngsters, he loves the excitement of travelling in our vehicle. Quite unexpectedly, Wadurda arrives back from hunting with a large mulga snake and some lizards for me. Using our own simplified version of the local sign language, I express my delight, for I realize now that the Kukadja have accepted us and will accompany us on our expedition. In the early hours of the following morning, I decide that the time is right to arrange a further meeting with the elders to finalize our plans. For hours, we talk. The elders are pleased that the old ways of survival in the desert are going to be recorded on film. It's decided who will go, and almost immediately we're on our way, heading into one of the country's loneliest regions, the great sandy desert of Western Australia. The great sandy desert, extending over a huge area, is an arid and inhospitable region where few Europeans have ever ventured. Until recently, it was the home of my newly acquired friends. We're traveling during the winter because the summer months are unbearably hot. Jabananga, an expert bushman, is soon collecting spear shafts. Suitable trees grow only in certain areas, and he takes this opportunity to cut many shafts. He's obliged to return from this journey with sufficient spears to distribute amongst the men. But the shafts must be straightened before the timber dries. The fire makes the wood more supple, and greater pressure can be applied. A handful of sand protects our fingers from the heat. I enjoy being actively involved. It enables me to understand and appreciate the skills needed for desert survival. flaked stone is used to smooth the shaft. Various types of points and barbs are made. This is a fighting spear. As we travel south along a track graded by a mineral exploration company, large fungi attract our attention. Now, I've been told many times that these puffballs are poisonous, but Jabananga shows me a brown substance at the base which can be eaten. In winter, the mornings are uncomfortably cold. Strong winds blow continuously. We stop in search of the famous delicacy, the large grub of the cossid moth, commonly called witchetty grubs. A distinctive pile of eaten wood or an abandoned chrysalis shows where they can be found. Witchetty grubs have always been a valuable and reliable food source for the desert people. They are especially valuable as a baby food. The pupae are also tasty. Cooking is a simple matter. Just toss for a minute in the hot sand. Tasting like omelette, the delicate flavor varies according to the type of tree hosting the grub. Wadurda and I agree there is no finer bush food. Our winch is in constant use as we negotiate the many dry creek beds. Electrically operated with a remote on-off cable switch, we quickly cross the sandy hollows that would otherwise cause major delays. Jabananga finds some native tobacco, a plant treasured by the older people. The chewed leaf is mixed with selected ash. This allows the nicotine to be more readily absorbed into the body, giving the user intense satisfaction. Attached to many of the bloodwood trees are numerous galls. These are an important food, and we spend hours collecting them. These galls, often referred to as bloodwood apples, are not a fruit, but a home created by a peculiar insect, a mealybug, and they're good to eat. Especially the large slug-like female. She spends her lifetime reproducing. The males are these much smaller winged bugs. At this stage, each gall also contains an amount of watery fluid, a liquid drunk by the Aborigines when water was scarce. In this gall, the male mealybugs are ready to disperse. They are delicious, tasting like sweetened flour, and we eat them by the handful. A common and most useful utensil is the easily made bark coulamon. Shaped in a matter of minutes, they're convenient food containers. Jabananga is not only a bushman, he's a fine craftsman. The trunk of this mulga tree with its slight bend is an ideal shape for a boomerang. Free of grubs and borer, it will yield 2 boomerangs. 30 years ago, this process would have been laboriously completed with a stone axe. Murdi Galga talks of roasting the galls, and Kim is keen to try them. Shaping a boomerang to achieve the correct flight pattern is a precise and highly skilled operation. The galls take several minutes to cook and are cooled in the sand, ready for opening. The bugs and the surrounding white tissue are all edible. About 10 galls complete a satisfying meal. Wadurda the hunter returns with a prize, a feral cat. Since cats were introduced to Australia, they've become a serious threat to our wildlife. Even in these arid areas, they are common, and so to the Aborigines an additional supply of meat. Each night we camp among the spinifex, and the area must be cleared of prickles and the needle-sharp bushes so that we can sleep in relative comfort around the fires. The ground is cleared in the age-old way, with the edge of a spear thrower, a multi-purpose tool. In earlier times, the Aborigines reared dingoes as pets. Now, the mongrel domestic dog is more common, but I've never seen a dog more devoted to its master than this young bitch. She seems to be observing every detail of her master's spear-making. A modern adaptation of an ancient tool is the use made of this discarded car spring as a chisel. When steel is not available, the Aboriginal craftsmen quite readily revert to using stone. The cat is roasted for the evening meal. In the mornings, the bitterly cold winds blow and I need layers of clothing to keep warm. Until recently, Jabananga never wore clothes and he doesn't feel the cold. He explains that the carvings on his woomera, although sacred, can be seen by women and children as long as the meaning is kept secret. As the daily temperature rises, lizards emerge to absorb the sun's warmth. The Aborigines, with their intimate knowledge of the reptile's behavior, hunt them with extraordinary success. We're still in an area that receives sufficient summer rain from the northern monsoon to support well-established trees along the river courses. These trees offer sanctuary to the big goannas until Murdi Galga arrives. More goanna tracks are found, the boomerangs fly, Murdi Galga misses, and the chase is on. Out in the bush, Jabananga is never idle. The slight natural bend in the trunk of this tree, hollowed out by termites, is the perfect shape for a large coulamon. These were used to carry water and food in earlier times, and they're still popular as cradles for babies. Jabananga works steadily, finishing a woomera, a spear thrower. And later he fashions loops of spun kangaroo fur into a pubic covering. These were often worn by adults before European clothing was acquired. We battle through the scrub and stony country until the ancient eroded plateaus give way to the vast open plains and interspersed sand ridge country. The complex desert ecology fascinates me. Here, at a permanent waterhole, Jabananga shows me an unexpected source of food, freshwater crabs. These crabs burrow deep into the soil during the long dry spells. After rain, they're more easily caught, and the Aborigines gather them in large numbers. Kim and Jabananga pick the fruit of the wild fig, common in the rocky gorges. They can be eaten fresh or ground into a palatable paste. Berries, nuts and seeds made up a considerable proportion of the desert tribe's diet. These tomato-like fruits are found right through the desert and at times are a staple food. The black seed is poisonous, must be removed. Seven weeks before our arrival, the country received a soaking of heavy rain, and we're fortunate to be seeing the desert flora at its best. The grevilleas are blooming profusely, and Jabananga collects bunches of the blossoms from one nectar-yielding species to make a drink, not unlike very sweet black billy tea. This nourishing drink was once made in wooden coolamans in large quantities, and it's really delicious. So many of the ephemeral desert flowers are small and delicate, their bright colours splashing vividly against the orange sand and pale, spiky spinifex. Finally, we reach our destination, the rolling sand hills. With the trailer heavily laden with fuel, we winch our way over the bigger dunes. Murdigalga, intrigued by the remote control switch, enjoys guiding Kim. We're not using the wide sand tires as they're too easily spiked. Surprisingly, on this trip, we didn't have one puncture. This is the country that my Aboriginal friends know so well. Where I see only sand and bush, they see life and food everywhere. We establish our base camp, and during the following weeks, Kim and I become totally involved in learning the secrets of survival. Close to our camp, the men have spotted tracks which immediately attract attention. Nearby, a dingo with her pups must be hiding. Jabananga's keen eyes spot a slight movement, and he's after a pup, brandishing his boomerang to ward off possible attack from the bitch. Murdigalga is after one too. Only 2 pups are taken. The third is left for the mother. Around 5,000 years ago, the dingo arrived in Australia, possibly accompanying Aborigines. The people used the dingo to assist in hunting and as warmth during the frosty winter nights. The wild pups are passive while they're being handled. Everyone is pleased, especially Kukadja. He wanted a new dog. The pups, when not being petted, will be kept in a large box in the trailer. Kukadja is more interested in the lizards roasting on his fire. After a lifetime spent roaming this land, he is at peace in the bush. Table salt is one of the bonuses of 20th century living. With food rarely abundant in the desert, no morsel was ever wasted. Kukadja pounds the lizard bones into a paste and relishes the mash. Jabananga clears an area and commences the long process of preparing a general-purpose adhesive from the resinous spinifex plant. Constant pounding separates the resin-bearing part of the plant. Leaving behind this concentrated husky residue. The desert winds lift away the finer dust, and any remaining sand is winnowed out. Heat, gently applied, melts the resin into a blob, which is added to a much larger lump collected on previous occasions. This resin, the super glue of the desert, has always been used in the manufacture of tools, weapons and artifacts. Jabananga's new boomerang is almost completed. Heat and pressure are used to effect the desired shape. Kukadja carefully applies the viscous spinifex resin to the end of his spear thrower, keeping it pliable with heat. Quartzite, collected when we were still in the stony country, is repeatedly struck until a small flake with a sharp edge and the correct shape is produced. Many stones are broken before one suitable flake is detached. When the wax hardens, the stone is securely fixed in place. Kukadja's woomera is also his knife and his chisel. The Aborigines will at times go to great lengths seeking a favoured food. Here Jabananga is digging for the edible tubers, often referred to as yams. A particularly sweet and delicious variety is found up to 2 meters below the surface, and it's hard work locating them. Finally successful, he passes the result of so much labour to his son. Wearily he emerges as the shadows lengthen, signalling the end of another day. Survival in the desert depends entirely on an adequate supply of water. The locations of the permanent waterholes have been diligently passed on from one generation to the next. This small soak was once a vital watering place for the Kukadja, and even today they cool their bodies in the traditional way. By contrast to the meagre supply found in the desert wells, back at the main community, a contractor is boring 150 meters down to tap underground reserves to cater for the needs of 500 people. The Kukadja women watch, marveling at how things have changed since they were young. On my return to the main community for medical supplies, some of the older women are keen to show me aspects of their harsh former life. In the intense heat, their feet were protected from the burning sand by these bark sandals. Travelling from one waterhole to the next, they were never idle, for the women were responsible for collecting seeds to make various kinds of damper. It was a tedious job, but always guaranteed some food. In this case, the seed-bearing bushes are burned, the seeds collected from the ground and winnowed out of the dust and ash. Some of the women excel at winnowing. I mix tea and sugar together, and with a deft flick of the wrist, this woman demonstrates how quickly she can separate the two. Several hours of rhythmic work extracts a small quantity of the minute black seeds free of rubbish and sand. Ground into a paste, it's cooked in the coals. The movements of the tribe were controlled by the availability of food, especially the seed-bearing plants. There's not much to show for such toil, but these tiny seed loaves were once an important item of food. The children, now accustomed to baked bread and canned food, have to be coaxed to taste the traditional loaves, and they find them bitter and unpalatable. Sweet bush berries are much more acceptable. Several meters from the base of these large green bushes, cracks along the ground indicate where large yams grow below the surface. The yams taste like sweet potatoes, and a few hours of work yields a good meal. On my return to the desert camp, I find that the older men are spending more time teaching young Jabangadi how to find his food. At first he's a little apprehensive, but gains courage when he realizes that it's only a small goanna. Lizards were the main source of protein for the desert people. And this one has made a definite error of judgment hiding up a tree. A flick of the wrist dispatches a goanna. A live reptile might escape. Snakes, especially the larger ones like this Wama python, are considered good tucker. Unfortunately for the snake, it leaves a very distinctive trail and is easily followed. In the more arid regions, kangaroos and emus are rarely seen, and it's a feast for all when one is killed. Before it's cooked, the sinews are removed from the tail and the powerful hind legs. Dried in the sun, these sinews are unsurpassed as bindings for spears. After removing the intestines, the fur is singed off and the meat cooked in the charred skin. The meat, protected from the sand and ash, does not dry out. The finer points of baking are explained to Kim. Several hours later, the sand is swept off and the meat is ready to eat. The tail is the most delicious cut, and I'm delighted when it's offered to me. Jowdy is pleased too. The dried kangaroo sinew is chewed to make it more pliable and bound around the spear to hold the barbs in place. This double-hooked spear is their main hunting weapon. The sinew, as it dries, contracts, pulling the barbs tight to the shaft. Because of the constriction, no fastening is necessary. Borgala is satisfied. The spear is well balanced. It feels good. Bush turkeys, or more correctly bustards, are still common in the desert, and the Aborigines hunt them relentlessly. The turkey will take several hours to cook. The men will wait patiently until the early hours of the morning for the feast that it will provide. The ability to recognize and interpret animal tracks is a most fundamental requirement for successful desert survival. Busted tracks are reproduced for young Jabangadi. Now the infamous feral cat. Sadly, these are becoming one of the most common tracks in the desert. This one, a snake. Jabangadi, like all small boys, soon loses concentration. He begins to doodle. It's the Toyota. This epitomizes the rapidly changing lifestyle that the Aborigines have to adjust to, with its new set of values and priorities. To the older men, the sand dune ridges expose an ever-changing wealth of information. Every living thing that moves across the surface leaves a track, and the tracks lead the hunter to food. These blue-tongued lizard tracks are fresh. Borgala moves off alone, hoping to locate bigger game for lunch. A sand monitor scuttles off. Borgala picks up a faint trail and follows it to this hole. The direction of the tunnel is established, and then he thumps his foot into the sand until it caves in. At noon, he returns, and for Jabangadi, a lesson begins. The names of the lizards and where they can be found are repeated over and over again. The high proportion of fat found in these goannas is an essential component in the diet of the desert people. The rich juices are a vital supplement to the fluid intake. After lunch, everyone rests. Nearby, Australia's most bizarre lizard blinks in the bright sunlight. The thorny devil, a grotesque but delightful creature, is quite harmless. Its only defense, its knobbly appearance. We're after a big snake, and Jabangadi, frightened, backs off nervously. Murdigalga and Bulgala explain that it's not poisonous. It's a species that we've eaten on previous occasions. All over Australia, the Aborigines have used fire to help them hunt out animals. Controlled burning quickly clears a particular area. But first the fire must be lit. Jabananga selects a piece of softwood and with a spear tip makes a depression in it. The hard edge of the spear thrower is used to generate enough heat and friction to powder the soft wood. Within a minute, it smoulders. The area to be burned is determined according to the wind direction. The sand dunes will act as a natural barrier. The resinous spinifex ignites easily. The men are after lizards, native mammals, and feral cats. Murdigalga is ready for any game that might rush from the flames. The intense heat drives the hunters onto the dunes, where signs of another tasty delicacy are found. Jabananga and Murdigalga begin searching, and in the most unlikely place find 19 frogs. Called desert spadefoot toads, they burrow into the sand, only coming to the surface after rains to feed and to breed in the temporary desert ponds. Another food that I found surprising was the various types of fungi. Truffles, related to the variety so highly esteemed by the gourmets of Europe, are cooked in the coals. They're sweet and nourishing. The fire dies almost as quickly as it flared, and now the reptile holes can be easily detected. Small items of food, such as this witchetty grub, are eaten as soon as they're found. My Aboriginal companions have totally resumed their hunting and collecting activities, and I'm conscious of observing a lifestyle that has existed for thousands of years. Sadly, I know that the skills will vanish with these men. After 5 hours, we have a Coolamon brimming with fungi, frogs and lizards. A number of the animals have been kept alive so that I can photograph them. Late in the afternoon, we discover some tracks which demand immediate attention, made by the marsupial mole, an animal so rare that it has never before been filmed in its natural habitat. Excitedly, we study the signs. Here is the hole where it emerged. It moved a meter to the left and re-entered where a loose pile of sand lies. I'm ecstatic. Kukadja is convinced that within minutes we'll locate it. And here it is, one of Australia's rarest animals. It is a delightful creature, closely resembling the moles of Europe and Africa. This species is a marsupial, and it has no eyes or ears, relying entirely on scent to locate its food of insects and worms. It has a knob for a tail, a large nose, and powerful clawed forearms for digging. Another memorable day in the desert draws to a close. The filming of the mole is the culmination of an unforgettable adventure. The men are missing their families, and we decide that it's time to head back to the community. Old Kukadja passes round the chewing tobacco while he packs up. He has mixed feelings about leaving. Kukadja has some gifts for his family, cooked snake and lizards, so he wraps them carefully in his swag. As we head back, leaving the sand dune country, I know that in many ways this will be one of my most important films. The old way of the desert people is almost gone, and my film will become a valuable record of a group of the desert tribesmen. Back at the Kukadja community, the elders are preparing for an elaborate ceremony to celebrate our return. Kukadja, anxious to make our farewell a success, insists that all the body designs must conform to the strict traditional standard. The preparations take all day. The dancing begins only when darkness has fallen. Countless generations ago, during the dream time, an old man named Wirran died, and his spirit began a long journey. The spirit met a group of people and guided them across the land, showing them all the important natural features. These landmarks can be seen today, and in many instances are regarded as sacred. When the journey was almost over, 2 evil warriors stalked them and killed one of the group with spears and boomerangs. The spirit left the body and divided into a multitude of spirits, which still live in a sacred area in the desert and ensure the continuation of the tribe. These things the people believe, and through the ceremony, the men are telling me that the desert is still so important to them. They no longer live there permanently, but it will always remain the home of their ancestral spirits. As we make our farewells, the men are already planning a new trip into the heart of Kukadja country. Beyond where we went this time, they say, into a sea of dunes far to the south. We begin the long drive back to Sydney, and Kukadja settles down to his spear making. He's the last of the great desert bushmen, and like so many of my Aboriginal friends, is growing old. And I know that before too many years have passed, I'll come back.